Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another developer live stream. I am joined, as always, by the one and only Moon Moon. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Hello,
I know. I
everybody. Oh,
think
we have a great group of you already.
we missed our stream last week. We ran into some delays there, but we're excited to be able to share a whole bunch of information today about our upcoming update, the reinforced update. I'll give everybody a chance to uh, Oh, audio delay. Uh-oh. Just a moment, guys. I'll let you guys type in chat while I am checking things out.
People missed me. Oh, good to see you guys. I miss you guys too. All
Hi, guys.
right, yeah, how are we doing on this audio delay? I'm going to listen on my end over
Fantastic.
here. One sec.
Uh-oh. That means it must be Discord related. Is it maybe his mouth is desynced?
I think it's the desync, yeah. We'll have to see what's going on
Let
there.
me.
Probably on your end. I don't know how quickly we'll be able to resolve
Yeah,
that. Hopefully, it's not too
I know it's
distracting.
not the best. That's so odd because we tested beforehand. But we're just, I think our actual
Mhm.
audio is fine, so we'll just go ahead and we will pretend that Moo Moon is miming along with himself.
Yeah, I'm currently streaming in from the moon today, guys. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle,
Oh,
but we'll make it work. It's fine. Be living in the matrix for a little bit. So
I
yeah, anyways, we have
know.
a ton to go
It's
through today. And it's been interesting in the chat because I'm seeing so many things that, well, we're
Yeah,
going to
I
be
think a lot
talking about
of
some things that
questions
people
that
are
you've
asking.
been
So,
asking us in chat are
uh,
going to be answered today. The number one question
yeah.
is kind of about our roadmap and when exactly is this update coming. So obviously, summer is now over. It's September 1st. So the previous deadline of summer 2020 has gone and passed. And our new updated timeline for the reinforced update is October 2022. So it's only a month away. I know it may seem like a long time right now, but it is just around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Just in time
actually
for
have some
spooky season too.
spooky information towards a little bit further down on our list. I know it's delay news is never good,
Yeah.
um, and we're just gonna kind of get the whole of the delay information out so we can kind of go into the details of what is actually in this update. And obviously, one of the big things that was supposed to be in this update was cross-platform parties. And this is going to be difficult for us to tell you guys and difficult for you guys to hear, but we've made the decision to remove or move cross-platform parties out of the 2.6 update. The delay of the 2.6 update did largely depend on our ability to get cross-platform parties into the update, but since we didn't feel we should be delaying the update further, we've decided to move or, bump cross-platform parties out of the reinforced update. Um, and when we have a more concise ETA, we'll be able to share that with you guys. But we want to assure everybody that the cross-platform parties are still continuing development, and the development of that is parallel to the other work that's happening. So the content that you'll see today, for example, Hippodrome, which we'll be talking about, does not impact the team's ability to work on cross-platform parties at the same time. But we have run into some difficulties with fully fleshing out that feature, and at this time we've had to bump it back a little bit.
Yeah. And I think I can speak for everybody here at the studio as well as for you and I, Jen, when I say this is not something that we are particularly excited to talk about. And I think it's disappointing for all of us. And I think one of those things too is kind of a good lesson to us as a studio to figure out kind of how we go about setting timelines for updates and the lessons for how we communicate that out. It's one of those things too where it's like we don't want to talk about things too early because things like this can happen, but we want to make sure that we're satisfying you guys. So it's always nice challenging balancing act, and I think we're gonna be learning from this quite a bit. So I do appreciate you guys, and I know it's disappointing for everybody, but we're still in progress, and we're still gonna be working on it. And we just thank you guys for being so passionate about the game. Like whether it's something you like or don't like, it's always super great to hear exactly what you guys are thinking and how we can keep doing what we're doing well and do what we're not doing well
I do
perceptually
want to
better
mention
for you
that
guys. So thank
later
you.
on, as we work through our list, we have a lot of things to talk about, but we do have some console changes that are coming that we think that you guys will like, console players. So don't feel like you're getting, completely shafted and there's nothing for you in this update. So we'll try to get that a little bit later. So stick around. I know it's hard to hear. This is obviously not news that anyone at Torn Banner is excited to share by any means. It's been a difficult decision to, delay the update and then, you know, subsequently remove it from the update. But again, I just want to reassure everybody that, while this content that you're going to see today has been worked on, the team has been working on cross-platform parties at the same time. So there's no, it's not delayed because we worked on other stuff. There's different departments within the studio that work on the maps, for example, that will be working on cross-platform parties as well.
Yeah, I was like a little bit dreading going into the first part of this, but at the same time, we have like a lot of good stuff to show too. Like, I think the reinforced update is definitely living
Yeah,
up to
for
its
sure.
name, despite that. And yeah, I know one of the things that I wanted to make sure was covered on this list was a bunch of like good fixes that people are going to be excited about, and
Absolutely.
we have a lot
So
of
now that
content to
we've
get
kind
through
of
too.
given the bad news of the stream, we're going to jump in on some of, what exactly is in this reinforced update that'll be coming October. And I am going to swap over to a new screen. And what you're seeing on screen right now is a reveal of the Grand Hippodrome of Ascandir. And I know.
Finally.
Hippodrome is, of course, our new map that's coming up for Team Deathmatch, and Free for All. You can see, just judging by this screenshot, there's kind of a lot going on. This perspective we're seeing here is us sitting up in the stands, so we can see the many, many peasant spectators looking down on us, and you may be able to see some scary things in there. Some things that are on fire. If you look a little closer, you may be able to see some traps as well. Basically, Hippodrome is the equivalent of tournament grounds, but taking place in the Tunisian Empire. It's a fast, frantic, bloody combat arena with spike traps, flamethrowers, and of course, you probably can tell just by how the layout is done. There's horses in this map. I'm so sorry, everybody in chat. There is no hippos,
Yeah, this one's
only horses.
yeah, hers is still pretty great. I think the really interesting thing about this map too is kind of the narrative that's being built around the map itself. You might notice if you're looking really carefully at this screenshot here, I'm kind of looking off to the screen while I do this, is you can actually see the Ascandir lighthouse in the background. So the setting for this hippodrome, or for the hippodrome, takes place in Ascandir. And we're trying to go more into the narrative style of the storytelling. I'm not going to go into too many details, but you may be wondering, like, why is Mason in this? And I guess in a similar way to Fighting Pit, you'll just have to find out. Um,
I have quite a, like, I think
yeah,
five
I
or
was like,
six screenshots here.
what a
So
detail.
I'll swap us to the next one that brings us down to kind of eye level,
Neat.
um,
Okay.
to see, what exactly this is going to be looking like while you're running around down there. Uh, one of the fun things about this map, of course, you can be on foot, but also being on horseback, is there's a lot of running area to kind of work up speed on your horse. And I think having those horses run by you while you're on foot and you just hear the hooves running across the sand, and it's it really makes you feel like you're in like a gladiator ring.
It was a great opportunity to take what we were doing with both Fighting Pit and Tournament Grounds and really kind of combine the two and like a love letter to just the chaos and really giving horses the proper space to
Absolutely.
do what they do
Oh
best,
yeah, I
right?
saw one comment in here from Zamboni Killis. I can't wait to ride a horse on this map. Hell yeah! I definitely agree.
Oh, do you want to talk about
Yes,
what game
I
modes
did,
this
but
one's
this
coming
is
to?
team
I don't know
deathmatch
if you
and
mentioned
free
it.
for all, but that's okay. It's
Oh, I'm
easily
sorry. Yeah.
missed. Yeah,
Yeah, free for all's been wanting a map for quite a while, and I'm really
I
glad
know
that
we
we're
want
kind
to.
of
We
able to
have
bring this
this,
to
and we
him.
have a little extra thing for our free for all players later in the stream. So we try to cater to everybody in all the different modes that we support.
Yeah, like I said, guys, we have a lot of stuff to get through too. So I see a lot of good questions in here, and we'll be addressing them kind of throughout
Yeah,
the
so
stream.
on screen
So
right
thanks
now
for your
you're kind
patience
of
there.
seeing the Mason side of Hippodrome, which is, obviously the red, while the main area of Hippodrome is green to match Tenosia. We have these awesome little serpent heads surrounded by all the red
Yeah.
Mason banners. And of course, you can see the peasants cheering us on from the high rise.
Mhm. There was one thing on the audio side that I can
Yeah.
talk a little bit about for Hippodrome, and that was Hippodrome and Tournament Grounds. We weren't quite happy from the audio team on how the crowds were. So you could hear like crowds being dynamic in the background. We really wanted to kind of do an adjustment for it. So more things will actually make the crowd. First of all, we boosted the levels up a little bit, so you can hear how you're performing a lot easier in these maps. And then you can actually hear the crowds react to more stuff as it's happening. So definitely kind of keep your ears on the ambience for this level, and it really feels like you're in a stadium, and that's exactly what we wanted.
Absolutely. Another high shot here that kind of shows you both sides of the arena. In this photo, the Mason side's on the left, and then the Tenosian side on the right. You can see some of those spike traps and flame traps. I'll tell you right now that riding around on a horse and avoiding those flame traps is definitely challenging. Obviously, we don't want to make horses too overpowered, so they have to have some kind of way to make sure horses don't get too overpowered. So, there's obstacles for horse riders while they're riding around that you do not want to slam into those spike traps. And obviously, you don't want to catch on fire either.
No, and we don't want to have a map where there's just absolutely no resolution to getting away from the horses too. So if you look at the map image that we have up in front right now, you'll see more or less different lanes of gameplay. Right, you'll have the outer lane for the horses or the inner lane. But as you're traveling through the map on either side, there are going to be little spots where you can kind of duck behind or jump over that the horses won't be able to reach you. And so there's a lot that's being done to kind of help around with that, and the obstacles and traps are definitely part of it.
This is the Tenosian side of the Hippodrome. What I like about this one is just how lush the map looks. Like all of the greenery, all of the gold and green, and like almost a teal color painted on the walls. It's really pretty. Obviously our level designers and environment artists, we have to give all the credit to them because they're the ones that do all the work. But it really is beautiful.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the favorite parts when I first saw this map actually is I think it was basically within a week that I went from gray box to just looking absolutely beautiful. And they've been working on it since. But there's a great reveal moment that when you come in one of the entrances and you just see this grand pillar up in front of you and you know
Absolutely.
that this map's going to mean
I think
business.
I might have one or two more. This is just a different angle, showing up the center of the arena here. Really nice. I like the different height levels that kind of like really make you feel enclosed. That's really nice.
And you can see little teases of the
Yeah.
rest of Askendir right behind it. So I think you can see a little bit of the library. You got some of the lighthouse in there, and then just the aesthetic overall is. I love this
That's
version
been the
maps.
fun thing. We had JD Spears, who'd worked on the music for Chivalry 2, and specifically we talked about the Tenosian music and how the Tenosian Invasion update really allowed us to kind of go outside of our norms between the Mason and Agatha and like the general themes that both of those factions have. And the Tenosian Invasion, or the Tenosians in general, really allowed us to kind of expand on this more, desert style, more exotic, serpents, all this kind of different themes that are really pretty and very different from what we've seen before.
Yeah. As a quick aside, I think I was so disappointed to miss
I
that stream because I was
know.
like, this is just so right up my alley. Like, I imagine it went pretty well, right? I watched it
Yeah,
after.
JD.
I was really enjoying it.
Yeah, JD was very
It's nice to
excited
be on the
to
other side
present, and
watching.
we try to involve as much of the dev team as possible from all different areas, just so you guys can see, who all is working on Chivalry 2 and what we're doing.
And JD is such an expert in his field too. Like it's so valuable, especially not even if you're into music, but just hearing about it too. I think
Absolutely.
it's you can learn a lot from what he has
Something
to
I was
say.
actually going to mention at the beginning of the stream is just how much Torn Banner has grown. Overall, we had like a team meeting last week, and I actually don't remember how many of us there are. It changes all the time, but we're definitely getting close to like 80 almost employees now. You know, yeah. So
Maybe just hit 80.
there's
Yeah.
always more of us being
Yeah.
recruited to make sure that we're getting out the best content for you guys. I
And there's still plenty of
Oh
open
yeah,
positions as well.
tornbanner.com.
People are looking.
I
Come
think
find
this
us.
might be the last one. I'm forgetting how many I put in here, but this is just another view of the crowd sitting and cheering on our fighters, and of course the lighthouse, as Mark Moon mentioned in the background there. Uh, yeah, so that is a quick look at Hippodrome.
light light colors to Tenosian or yeah to the Tenosian peasants give them a
Yeah,
little
I
bit more
love their
color than
little
what you would
yellow
normally
and
see.
purple and red
That's
little
pretty.
hoods.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Purple's my favorite color too, so I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, the
This map will be
I
in
guess
this
I should
patch.
have
Yeah.
said that the reason that we're talking about Hippodrome is the map that will be featured in the reinforced update. And if you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, that'll be in the beginning of
Yeah.
October that you guys would be able to play this. Um, Something else that I do want to throw in,
Great.
as I see some people asking about like what maps are in what queues. We're going to be giving you guys more details about that. Obviously, we want to talk about move. We don't want to keep the Tenosian invasion queue going forever. So we're going to be mixing up what maps are in what queues, but we're going to give you guys more details about that at another time. So we didn't forget. I know you guys are interested in hearing about it,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely let you know very soon.
Yeah. We're
Yes.
also in the finalization stage of just clarifying everything and kind of making sure everything's in order, so we're set to go for that day. So yeah, it's an ongoing discussion, but we're mostly set up at this point.
We're moving on now to our next thing on our list for the reinforced update, which is of course the new weapon of this update, is the Katars. I'm personally very excited by the guitars. I've been playing them a lot in our playtests. I
Yes.
think they're super duper fun. I think that players are going to really enjoy this new style of combat because the guitars are really like the first dual wield weapon
Mhm.
that's kind of like a it's kind of like you wear them on your hands and you just stab people with your hands. So it's kind of like a first like our first fisted weapon, I guess. I don't know how to say that more appropriately, but
In such eloquent words. There
basically,
you
yeah.
go. Yeah, this is one that's been in development for a little while. It's got some interesting perks to it, and I think for those who really enjoy like the fist fighting in Chivalry, like if it's um, doing like the special attacks and just kind of having that kind of element, you can bring that in as a more viable combat option now to the rest of the game, which is
Yeah, for sure.
something that
And
I would
what I
definitely be
think
looking
what
forward to.
is pretty fun about this is it's actually designed for the ambusher class specifically because we noticed, we were able to track a lot of the stats behind the scenes, and we noticed that ambusher was kind of a class that wasn't getting picked as much. So we've added the guitars to the ambusher class,
Mhm.
and it kind of allows the ambushers to get behind the enemy lines and like quickly cut down those heavily armored fighters very easily.
Yeah, you definitely want to have a specific play style when you're playing with the amateur class in general. I'll be the first to say that I don't usually play amateur class that much, and I think with the addition of guitars, it kind of really helps raise the appeal of it too. So we'll be doing some changes there. I think they might have a new perk
I
called
did,
the.
yeah,
Actually,
go
did we
for
cover
it
it here?
because
No,
I
we
didn't
didn't.
write it
Okay,
down.
awesome. I can talk about that really quick. That's okay. No, there's so many things to keep track of, right? So the ambusher is getting a new perk now.
Ooh.
It's called I think it's called Executioner. where when you're fighting with Ambusher, you no longer down people. Every time you get their health to zero, it's going to be a kill, which I think is a really
Mm-hmm.
nice little bonus
Yeah,
for him.
I think that the ambushers definitely, or sorry, the guitars for the ambushers really going to be uh, a big change to how people play the game. I think that what's fun about the guitars is it really encourages good footwork and making use of dodges, because obviously the guitars are very small. They're basically double the length of your hand, so they don't have a lot of good blocking mechanics. Like you can block, but compared to a large sword, for example, it's a lot harder to block effectively. So while using the guitars, you're going to want to make sure you're dodging out of the way and, not taking too many of those incoming hits, which is really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that footwork is. I think this is really going to highlight just how nice the footwork feels in this game when you're doing your crouching and dodging, and just kind of
I
landing
feel
hits
like it's a
in.
very active play style.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah.
It was a very active play style, and that's why it matches the ambusher class too,
Mm-hmm.
because naturally the ambusher is such an active
And,
play style.
in case it's not clear, it is Katars with a K and not guitars with a G. I
I petition for guitars
I'm
in game.
noticing
I'm
that the
sorry,
guitar
guys.
is
I'll
almost
keep
a
working
little
on it
bit
for
cut
you.
off at the bottom, but it is, Katar, Katar. And yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah, the
say,
thing I find.
I see
Yeah,
people
sorry. Go
asking
ahead.
it. This is also in the reinforced update. Everything that we're talking about is in the reinforced update, which is the beginning of March.
The other interesting thing about the guitars too is not so much the perk. It's the
And
fact that it doesn't interrupt opponents, and so there it does create a new interesting play style. We experimented a lot with this before we decided we were going to do this, and so to be clear with you guys, the guitars can block as normal, but when you're doing regular attacks, you won't be interrupting. So you really have to be careful with kind of your footwork. That being said, the guitars do feature a jab, which is kind of fun, which is the headbutt jab. So you'll have the guitars out, and then if you do want to interrupt them, you can get that jab in. You can do kicks as normal to interrupt blocks, and you can also have the special as well that will be interrupting people.
I, just to be clear, October, not March. I don't know if somebody said March, but everyone's saying March question mark. October. October.
Oh no, no, that's not. We all have our miss.
What you're seeing on screen right now is
Misses.
also just one of the
Yeah, no, that's
customizations
October.
for the guitar. I'm pretty sure I'm saying guitar now because you guys jinxed me in chat. The Katar. There is 4 different skins for the Katar coming in October in the reinforced update. What you're seeing right now, I believe, is what we're calling the common skin for it. So yeah, there is a
I think it's
uncommon,
the
and
common
there's a
trait. Yeah.
rare and a legendary. So you can just imagine in your head how fancy that legendary one is.
Yeah. So the common, or sorry, so the rare and legendary have 2 different like models
Very
for it too,
fancy.
and I think those look really good. Yeah. So just to give you some context as well, Pion, I'm reading the comments here with some concerns and things. Um, when we were going through and building this weapon, we were constantly kind of doing feedback rounds between our community testers. One of the concerns originally, and this is kind of before the weapon was tuned, was that the damage was too high. So like it was a very like glass cannon type weapon, and so that's being kind of rebalanced throughout development. The jab was also, or the headbutt jab was also a concern. So I'm glad you brought it up because we can cover that too. I think there's been an adjustment to that to make it a little bit less oppressive. So you're good. So you're good there.
You have a question. Can you throw the guitars? You can throw them, but yeah, I don't know if I would
You can
advise
throw them.
throwing
Yeah.
it. Just because you kind of need it. But I mean, people throw their swords all the time, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
S Mento, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. And oh, don't get me wrong, the damage is still pretty good. Yeah, the way you throw it is you will throw both of them, but only one will appear, so that you're not kind of like sitting with one guitar in one hand and having nothing in the other. So they'll come as a set, and then you can keep
And it is
fighting
dual
with them if you
dual
pick them
wielded,
up.
so
So
you
that's
have
good.
one on each hand. In case that also wasn't clear.
Yeah.
um, this will be on the Ambusher. Marklezel. This is on the Ambusher.
And
Yeah.
countering and reposting is still a thing. Yeah.
In this update, we also have some customization coming. Drumroll, please, everybody. Dun, 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 dun. This is only one. This is the one we're going to tease you guys with today because I think it just looks epic. Obviously, when we launched the Tenosia Invasion update, one of the big pieces of feedback we got were that we needed some individual um, armor looks for the Vanguard and the Knight. So what you're seeing right now is the Tenosia Knight, which has a very cool torso piece
Yep.
and some really cool helmets as well. I love it.
And this was partially directly from your feedback as well, where we were talking not only about how people wanted more Tenosian customization, but about how the classes were split up. I know that the light and heavy classes were an interesting experiment, and I think there's obviously people on both sides, but I think overall it is nice to have different armors for different classes just to help with differentiation. And so we're able to slide a little bit of extra Tenosian customization in for
Heck
this
yeah.
update for
So
you
what you're
guys.
seeing right now is screenshots of the actual armor. So included in like reflections and stuff in the world. This is what it looks like in game. This is not a concept art. This is really what it looks like. I saw one person say, "How does it look in game?" That's what it looks like right there. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually in the key art there was kind of debate about how many armor pieces we could work on at a time, and so this one was actually slotted in for the key art piece, and then it turned out that we didn't have the capacity to work on it, so we knew immediately after we're like, yes, we got to bring this one in. It just looks so good, and so we were
Absolutely.
able to do
Like I
it, which
said,
is
this
awesome.
is only one. We also have a Tenosian Vanguard as well, but we're just teasing you with one of them for today, and we'll be showing more stuff within the coming
Yeah,
weeks up until the reinforced launch.
exactly.
Um, this is kind of a jump, but we also wanted to announce that Halloween is going to be returning next month. It won't be at the very start of October when the update goes out, but it will be later in October that we'll be flipping the switch and we're going to be seeing some spooky maps returning. And on screen, obviously, you can see our lovely pumpkin helmets will be returning as well. In terms of.
I
Thank
loved
you,
your
thank you.
segue
I'm
there.
getting pretty good at it.
That's awesome.
So we'll
Yeah,
have our returning maps, which are Dark Forest and Rudhelm Siege, and they'll be spookified. But we'll also be adding Desert and Wardenglade horses. So they'll be also spookified as well. And then, in addition to that, we also have a pretty cool cosmetic set that will be purchasable with crowns that we'll be showing off a little bit later. It's quite cool. It's a helmet. You'll find some details about that in a future stream as well. But we're pretty stoked to be having Halloween back. Obviously, we love seasonal events, and yeah.
I'll give like a little bit of extra detail for the seasonal
Yes.
cosmetic. I think you said helmet that we were talking about. One of the so I'm not going to say what it is or anything, but we also have three different versions of it. So if you buy it, you're going to have an Agathian version, you're going to have a Mason version, and you're going to have a Tenosian version, which are all going to look slightly different, and they all look fantastic. So I was also testing Halloween. I was actually testing Halloween yesterday in one of our internal builds, and you kind of forget about like just all the little features that we've kind of added in these seasonal events. Like Christmas, I think my favorite thing was the gnomes, but Halloween, just the pumpkins and throwing it and having it just explode on someone. Like I immediately was just brought back to last year, and
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
can't
we
wait to jump
have
back
we
in
have some
again.
new decorations this year as well. I didn't write them down, but I'm sure we'll talk about them in a future stream as well.
I think I
True,
have some in
don't
mind,
spoil
but I
too
don't want to spoil
much.
anything. So
We got to keep
well,
people going until
just wait, guys,
October.
just wait. Yeah.
So now that we've kind of gotten through in the first half of the stream, we've dedicated to kind of all of the new content that'll be coming in the reinforced update. We also have on the back side of the stream here some of the fixes and changes that'll be coming in the reinforced update. Um, the first one I have
Yep.
on stream that you guys can read is actually about the team swapping, which kind of goes out of order to how I have it written down here. But basically, I thought it was probably the most important one to talk about because I know from reading the Reddit that team swapping and team balance is a very big issue. Um, and not an issue that we've taken lightly. In the past 2 or 3 updates, we've tried to add various different mechanics to better treat the overall issue of people swapping teams and creating team stacking issues and all that kind of stuff. Um, One of the changes we introduced was that you can't swap teams if there is more than no, sorry, if there's less than 2 players. And this has been in the game for the past couple of updates, but what we've noticed is players using exploits, which I don't want to be specific about. People who know, people who don't, you don't need to know. But there has been ways that people have been circumventing this, and these kinds of exploits will now be resolved so that you, no matter what, cannot swap teams if there's going to be a team imbalance created by you moving. So, if at the end of the map, for some reason, like a team of 4 leaves, you can choose to swap teams in order to make those teams more equal. So we are maintaining the ability to swap teams,
Mhm.
but just restricting it quite a lot so that it does not create a team imbalance anymore.
And I can go into some example cases here. I
Go
actually have
for
the
it.
task up
Get
in front of me,
technical.
so I can go into a little bit more. Your detail, oh, no worries. Yeah, yeah. So 3 example cases. So example A, if your previous team has 32 players, including yourself, and the other team has 30, you will be able to switch because that will make a 31-31 balance. If your previous team has 32 players, including yourself, and the other team has 29, you'll be allowed to switch manually because that'll do a 31-30 balance. If your previous team has 30 players, including yourself, and the other team has 31, you're not allowed to switch because that would create a 31-32 imbalance. This is just a helpful little restriction to make sure that we're not um, allowing a variance of more than basically one player at a time. And I think this is going to help quite a lot with what people have been commenting on, and is a great example of direct change based
Yeah,
on
I
your
mean, this
feedback.
is
So
something
thank you
that's
guys.
been on the forefront of our minds as well as the community's minds. You know, it's been a difficult one to treat just because uh, we don't want to completely get rid of the ability to choose your team because we think that that is kind of inherently part of chivalry. Like, people are very passionate about being Agatha or being Mason, but there also needs to be a balance, obviously. Part of having team balances, there needs to be a balance of not allowing for certain teams to be, very overpowered by all of the good players switching to one team or the other, switching to attack or defense based on the map you're playing. So we're trying to not remove freedom completely, but also creating a better playing experience for everybody involved.
Yeah. Someone asked if this was scalable. The example that I used is for 32 players, but it scales up entirely from 1 to 32 in terms of like how big the lobby sizes are. So just keep that in
Absolutely.
mind.
I see a lot of questions about like specifics. Um, I will. I think what we'll do is we'll go through all of the changes first because some of what you guys are asking about is stuff we're going to talk about, and then at the end I'll try to like go back and see if there's anything that we missed. So I do see your questions. I just want to let you know that you're not being ignored. It's just probably easier if we go through the list first. Yeah.
I think so. And if we don't know something, we have no problem saying we don't know, and we'll try to find that info out
The
for you.
next one I have
But
on
we'll
the
do our
list
best.
is about the ghost hits with projectiles is improved. So do you want to explain what that means, Moon Moon? What are ghost hits?
Sure. And then I'll have to make a clarification on that slide, by the way, but that's okay. I'm going to, yeah, yeah. So basically, there's a server versus client, or there was inconsistency between how projectiles are set for their velocity and their travel distance. And so what's happening is a lot of times people would fire a projectile. It could be a weapon, it could be a bow, or arrow rather. And what was happening is the server had a slight variance for like where it thought the projectile was versus the client. So on the client side, it looked like it hit someone, but the projectile was like slightly above. And so it would stop on the client side and it wouldn't do damage when you're expecting it to do damage. And then it would keep going through. We've done some code changes to make that a little bit better. So it's a lot of bit better, hopefully. And so it's a lot closer to what you're actually expecting it to be. And then I think, so there was an exception case
Yeah.
from testing, though. That's just the one I wanted to cover here, is that when someone hits someone's shields, it does stop automatically, and that's kind of by design, and it's been like that since launch. There's no audio feedback sometimes, so when you do come across that case, you might not hear a sound. You might expect that it didn't hit someone, so just keep an eye on people's shields, and that's what I wanted to cover there.
Very well said. I know that I've seen a couple posts on Reddit and in the Discord being like, "This clearly hit somebody, but why didn't it?" And we've been collecting those test cases, and hopefully,
Yeah.
the vast majority of those will be resolved now. And if there's any edge cases, obviously we can address those as they come along.
Exactly.
Next, I just have a slide for kind of a list of general fixes that we'll kind of go over one by one. The first I have on the list is the no helmet option. I know is a big contender for being something that the community has been complaining a lot about, and rightfully so. Bugs that mess with your customization are obviously super unfun. And this is a task. I want to be super transparent that this task is currently still in progress. So we obviously hope to get it out in 2.6, but if it fails for any reason and we don't have a chance to get it into that update, it will be moved to the next one. But I want to let everybody know, we are aiming to get it into 2.6, and it is currently in progress, being tested today. So we'll kind of keep you in the loop, and obviously we'll have full patch notes at a later date. The next one we have on this list is Masons who spawn on Foulmire, who are sometimes falling under the map, and that was in stage 3 or the bridge stage of Foulmire. Obviously, falling through the map's never intended, so if that happens, that's obviously a bug.
Yeah, that was a nice little just quality of life fix right there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's get that wrapped up. This one is my next favorite one.
Yay!
Peasants will spawn again in
Peasants! We
courtyard.
love
Yes.
peasants.
Some people were curious if that was an intentional change or not. No, it wasn't, but we've fixed it for this update
Yeah.
because I miss those
Peasant voices
voices.
are some
That's
of the
for sure.
best voices we have. They're just so funny. For the shield one, I think there are some specifics about we have fixes to spawning with the wrong shields faction on some consoles. So I don't think that this is resolved completely, but it is resolved in some cases.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for any additional details that you guys have on that one. I think it should. I'm going to quote unquote. All right, someone clip this. Just kidding. It might be resolved
We
completely. I just
never
want to
say
make sure.
completely until it's proven.
Yeah, and that's why I said might.
Yes.
But yeah, there have been a lot of improvements towards fixing just expectations
Mm-hmm.
around shields
We
and
had
the
talked
faction that's
about a
shown.
little
So
bit
we'll
in a
keep an eye on
previous
that.
update why that was happening, and a lot of it had to do with the older generation of consoles kind of loading whatever's in their memory. Uh, like, what's the best way to explain that? The older generations don't have as good of memory as the newer generation of consoles, so they would kind of load a default player, which was often bloody, had the wrong shield, sometimes looked like they were burned. So if you ever saw one of those, it was because probably you were playing on an older generation console, and it was just loading the easiest thing for it to load. So we've made some improvements there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not a programmer, but anything related to data over a network, I like
I
my
know.
eyes glaze over, and thank God we have coders who
Yeah,
are
we're just repeating
more on top of
what they've told.
that.
The next one on
Yeah,
the list is
exactly.
obviously one that our
Just do
FFA
dust, yeah.
players have been asking for, which is we have added the Mason and Agatha heraldries to FFA. So, in addition to FFA getting the new Hippodrome map in Reinforced Update 2.6, you're also going to be getting a lot more customization options by being able to choose from any of the Mason and any of the Agatha heraldry options, which is very fun. Yeah.
that was one of those that felt like not an easy win, but something that would help a lot with kind of giving people more customization for free for all. It's been asked for quite a while, and that was one of those where we just kind of took in the feedback, we reviewed it with the team, and we said, yeah, we would love to do this. And so now you have a lot more options, which is awesome.
The next couple ones are balance related. So the first weapon to get balance changes this update is the spear and the one-handed spear. Um, streams. Spears are extremely powerful in 1vx fights. They're considered to be one of the best weapons in the game. A lot of their value comes in like playing up elevation differences, being able to give the spear a lot of advantages. So we did have to look at the spear has a lot of reach. What are we going to do about that? Um, and kind of making a few small changes to bring the spears more in line with the rest of our weapon arsenal.
Yeah, that was one of those things too, where it's for the spear users. We want to make sure that they still love using the weapon, and we want to make sure that it's less about the spear getting worse, is it just feeling more balanced in the different scenarios that people have to face against it. And so we're going to be making this change and then just continuing to monitor, as always, about the details of it and how it feels, both from an attacker
Absolutely.
perspective and
Now
a
that
defender
we will have
perspective.
the specific numbers for all of you people who are super interested in numbers, but the general idea is we've reduced the combo speed and reduced the knockback just a little bit from the one-handed and two-handed spear.
Yeah, exactly.
The Highland sword has obviously been a hotly debated weapon on basically all of our feedback forums, Reddit, Discord, Twitter. So the Highland sword is being brought into line more along with the with the great sword. So it's I wouldn't say it's getting a significant nerf, but it's being more put in line with the great sword, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so we have these things called weapon shoulders, where each weapon is designed to have a specific purpose. And the Highland sword was definitely one of the more powerful ones. We saw that in stats, we saw that in player sentiment. And so, to give you guys some specifics, yeah, we're going to be, without giving the actual numbers, the damage for the slash and overheads are being changed to be a little bit more in line with the greatsword. And then, because this weapon is slower and it has a rate advantage, we can um, do those damage adjustments, and then we're going to keep the stab the same, I think. And then we're also just increasing the windups of some of the attacks on the weapon just a little bit. The special is going to stay the same, everything else is going to be the same, and then
Yeah,
we'll
as I said
continue to monitor
before,
from there.
all of the very specific damage numbers when in regards to like wind up speeds and stuff like that, for any of you diehards that are super into that stuff, those will be provided in the patch notes so you can, compare before and afters. But basically, keeping it a little bit slower and making sure the damage is in line with where we think it should be. And obviously, we will be evaluating where it kind of lands within the game's meta or popularity after that, after the update comes out. So if it proves to be still super duper overpowered and upsetting people, that's something we can revisit at that time.
Exactly. And as with our usual design intention too, that we talked about with the spear and the one hand spear, is to keep it fun to use, but also reasonable to fight against, and that's basically our philosophy.
Somebody said make a lowland sword, and it cracked me up while you were reading that. The highland sword and the lowland sword.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so my question to chat then is, what is a lowland sword, and how would
Yeah.
it be different from the other swords we have? Little
What
design
do you
challenge
guys
for you
think
guys.
on the design of the lowland sword? The last one on the list is additional measures to combat hackers. Um, for the purpose of not giving too much information, the basically what we're doing is putting more measures in place to make sure that hacks are automatically removed from the game without as much moderation action required. Um, How exactly we're doing that, as I said, I don't want to provide too many details about that because we obviously don't want to make it easier for people to circumvent the ways that we're preventing hacks. But I do want to acknowledge that there is more anti-hack and anti-cheating measures going to be put into place into this update as well.
Exactly. Be just happy highlighting it. So Jen can't go into your lobbies and absolutely destroy you guys anymore. You know, or destroy me more specifically, as usual.
I love Mr. Marzipan. Our combat hacker is stronger than regular hackers. You guys take everything to heart.
It was Jen all
What
along.
if I
Jen
am
and
crustacean
crustacean
soup?
soup.
I've been crustacean soup this whole time.
We have so many plot twists this stream. I'm learning so much.
Oh. We have at the
Awesome.
kind of the end here, we have some console specific additions that are going to be coming in the reinforced update. We know that obviously console FOV for next gen consoles is coming. Oh my gosh, it's coming! Can you believe it? I can't believe it. The feature that we're going to be bringing to all consoles, though, is console gamma, which is a setting that we've seen that console players have been asking for. So whether you're on a previous gen or next gen consoles, you will have access to the gamma setting now. Woohoo!
Yeah, that was one of those. We're just like, yeah, we can pretty quickly add that
Last but
setting in.
not least, this has been something that I've seen some people bring up, which is basically using a gamepad now. You're going to be able to do same attack feints, which you previously weren't able to do on a controller. Um, so this is something that people who are like really interested in like performing at their best will definitely appreciate. If you don't know what same attack feints are, this is an opportunity to learn. Just maybe you haven't played Chivalry 2 on a keyboard, for example, so you don't know kind of all the ins and outs of what combat is possible. But we're doing our best to make sure that console remains on parity with keyboard players as much as possible. Um, so this, it's going to help bring things back in line.
Yeah, and to be clear about what same attack fates are as
I
well,
know.
it's almost a tongue twister, but it's not. Oh well, I'll do my best. um, so basically, or also known as same side fates, by the way. So basically, if you are doing a slash and you press Alt on the PC, you can do a slash and then feint into a slash on the opposite side. Or that same goes for overhead. Sorry, I'm like losing my words here. Thanks for your patience, guys. Overheads or alt overheads or stabs or alt stabs. You could kind of do alt moves with a controller before. So you're going to do like a left trigger to block, and then you would go into an alt. But you couldn't do attack immediately into an alt. So that was a quality of life thing that people have been asking for that we were able to throw in there. So
Yeah, I mean, there is
there you go.
still some more things with console that are not quite on parity, and those are things that we're still investigating. Um, these are the ones that'll be included in the reinforced update, and we're always looking to make sure that the console version of Chivalry 2 is on par with the PC version. So, we can't provide too many specifics outside of what we talked about right now, but I do see, some of the ones being mentioned, and they're definitely on our to investigate list.
Now, as the usual quote, the changes that we talked about today are nowhere near the list of full changes for this update. I know that these ones specifically are things that people have been particularly vocal about. And so we wanted to make sure that we highlight in the stream, but there's going to be a lot more to come in terms of general quality of life and bug fixes and
Yeah.
a little bit of feature work.
Yeah,
So
we only have an hour,
keep that
and
in
we
mind
wanted to
for
go
sure.
over the ones that we felt were most important to the community or the ones that are most talked about. Obviously, in particular, like the team balance stuff has obviously been one that we've been tracking for quite some time and know that it's been very important to the community. In terms of releasing the full patch notes, that won't be until much closer to the update, which will be, as I said, at the beginning of October. Oh my god, I almost said November. The beginning of October.
Our day's changing
I'm
every
so
time now.
sorry.
Let's
That's
releasing
what
it in
happens. I'm
1993.
reading the chat and
Watch
also
this.
talking at the same time, and I'm not very good at that. But that brings us to kind of like the end
Yeah.
of the changes that we wanted to talk about. So we've got like 10 minutes. I kind of want to just do a brief uh, some synopsis for those who weren't at the beginning of the stream, which is that the
Oh,
oh
Jen, quick
no,
note. I think
it
my
is. Hang
view
on.
chat's a little bit messed up there.
Uh, hey, that's
All
me.
right, everybody, this is Jen. The person being on the left side is an
There we go.
imposter.
We fixed. We fixed. Um, the
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
so the update will be at the beginning of October this year, not next year, not in 2 years. This year. uh, in this update, the major keystone things are obviously Hippodrome, or the Grand Hippodrome of Ascandir, which is a team deathmatch map as well as a free for all. We have the new weapon, which is the Katars, which is the dual wielded guy. We have new player customization for Tenoja specifically, which is the Knight and Vanguard. Halloween's returning, and then all of the fixes that we talked about. And just to rehash that what we talked about at the beginning is that cross-platform parties are not going to be in the 2.6 update, and they have been bumped out of this update for now. And when we have a more concrete timeline on when we can expect them, we will let you guys know as soon as we're able to. Oh, a lot of stuff. A
Exactly.
lot of stuff in this update. I mean, we kind of do that all the time now. All of our updates have like literally hundreds of patch notes that we go through, and assembling patch notes is a milestone in itself. It's a big task.
Yeah, so some stuff that we haven't really highlighted here that I know has been improved, but I don't have the details off the top of my head, is there are some desyncs that were involved with combat that would make your attack seem to hit late and some things like that. There was particular certain ways that you could do combat that would kind of slow things down. There were some exploits. So without going into details about specifically what each one was, do have some fixes for that. So we should see some improvement. And I do want to make sure that when the update goes live, that if you guys have clips of it, clips are the best thing for us in order to be able to take a look at what's going on, and we can kind of address things as they come from there. So yeah, no, good question in the chat there.
um, I just want to see it because it's getting mentioned again. Is our map queue setup? We don't have it 100% finalized right now, and what I mean by that is when you click on the play button and how things are laid out, that is being reworked right now, and that includes like what maps are in each queue and what modes are in each queue. So that'll be changing for 2.6, but we're going to give more details on that in the future. So if you're asking, is this map in this queue? I see your question, but we're going to talk about that at a future date. Yeah.
There's some cool things there that I'm
We got to
kind of
make sure they're
excited about, but
finalized
won't go into
first.
detail. Exactly.
We kind of have like the last 5 minutes, so I'll try to answer what questions we can. I do want to also say that as of today, Chivalry 2 is on sale on Steam, and that is for the rest of next week up until the 8th of September. So if you are somebody who's played on Epic and you haven't bought it on Steam yet, or you want to get your friends playing on Steam with you, now's a good time. It's 40% off as well as pretty much everything else that Tripwire has published. So it's like a publisher sale, which is always fun. So definitely check it out on Steam if you haven't already. I see a question about missing armor. So that's something that we've actually talked about internally. Basically, there's been like a few pieces of armor that we've shown in different media or like screenshots that we've put out that aren't in game. So we're currently like kind of going through a list and looking at which ones we can or can't add based on that. So hopefully more details to come with that specific question.
Yeah, that was a good note, Chen. And I think early on development too, a lot of these images came from pre-release where things were rapidly changing or being updated. So I know at least like one of the textures on one of the helmets was changed to something else. And then it was used in a marketing image. And so we're kind of looking back at what we had and figuring out like what do we want to bring back, what can we bring back, and B, when can we bring it back to. So we have some proposals in place. We'll see what happens with this, but we definitely know about some of those
I
instances. So
see.
thank you
Are the
guys.
Steam helmets going to be released on other platforms? Yes, at some point they will be. Right now, there's a few that are Steam exclusives since June. They're still exclusives right now, but they will be coming to all platforms at some point in the future.
Exactly. I saw a comment about some combat issues, especially from our more competitive players. We've been working with some of the community testers, and I've been making notes myself, particularly in order to find slots where we can kind of make all these improvements that people are talking about. And I know that the one hand jab was something that was brought up pretty recently, actually. So I will be kind of following up on that and seeing where that lands in terms of getting a bug fix in for that.
Bro, um, if we're not answering it, that just usually means that there's nothing to share currently. Like I see some people asking about private servers. We don't really have anything to share about that right now. Um, just so you don't feel ignored. Nothing to share currently.
Especially when it comes to upcoming feature work that we're not ready to talk about, or things that we just can't talk about in general. We won't be able to make any comments, but we do want to stress too that like we are just definitely seeing what you guys are saying and reporting back every time, whether it's on Twitch or Discord or Reddit, Facebook, Twitter,
I
all
know.
sorts. God, there's so many social media right now. TikTok, Instagram, we could go
See
on. Yeah.
butts. Yes, we are going to resume Feedback Fridays. I think I will actually put one up today, which is not a Friday. But since we had the stream, we want to give people kind of some time to digest what you've heard. I'm also going to be posting a written version of this stream over on our blog, which is chivalry2.com. It'll be a Steam announcement as well, so you can kind of read through all of the details that we've talked about. And I want to give a place for you guys to kind of talk about the update as you know it so far. Obviously, there are still some unknowns, as we both mentioned. The patch notes are much longer than what we talked about right now. But yeah, we want to start up the feedback again. We know it's been, a few months since the last major update, which was this Notion Invasion update, and a lot of that comes down to uh, our struggles, I guess, with deciding on whether to, delay the 2.6 update because of the cross-platform party progress. So, that's kind of one of the reasons that it was moved out of this update, just because we really want to get the 2.6 update out to all of you guys to play and enjoy while work still continues on cross-platform parties. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I do want to reaffirm that while other game development work is happening, cross-platform party work is happening at the same time. They're just different people that are working on it. So the people who are working on new maps and stuff, they're not the ones that have to do all the crazy coding stuff necessary that even I don't quite understand. No, certainly
Certainly
not
not
us.
us.
We don't do that. But uh, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. If there are questions here that I didn't address specifically or that Moon Moon didn't address specifically, you can always leave them on any of our social media. As I mentioned, I will put up a thread uh, shortly after this. I need to get the posts up first, and then I'll put a feedback thread up on Reddit. So it may take me a little bit, but we will do that. Um, Thanks everybody for hanging out and joining us today. We hope that even with the delay of cross-platform parties, you guys are still excited for the stuff that's going to be in this update, and we will have more to share over the coming weeks up until October.
We really appreciate you guys. You're all amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I know I missed last Twitch stream, so I was really excited to come back
Yeah, I
and
missed
join
you.
you
I'm
guys.
glad
This
you're
is awesome.
back. It's all, as
You too.
always, it's great meeting our community as well. We missed you guys as well last week when we had to delay a little bit, but we're back on
Yeah.
schedule, and we'll see you guys in another 2 weeks. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Bye.
All the best.
Let's have some fun music. Let's do it.
See you guys soon. Oh, I'm ready for these two.